Okay, so let's unpack this idea. Imagine you're in college, right? Maybe deep in calculus, homework differentiation, integration, all that.
Yeah, the fun stuff. Greek letters everywhere.
Totally. Now, picture grabbing a snack.
Yeah.
Something from a machine, maybe your lunch, it's in some kind of packaging, a box, carton, maybe one of those shaped plastic things.
Okay, yeah, got it.
What if I told you those two things, the abstract math and that everyday snack packaging, are like directly linked? That's what our source material for this deep dive is suggesting.
Our source really zeroes in on exactly that. It talks about this connection as part of integration in food science,
Integration in food science, right?
specifically looking at the volume of food packaging design.
Right. So the source is basically saying those concepts like differentiation and integration that you might be
Yeah.
learning, they're actually relevant here. So the mission for us today is to explore why. Why does this link exist? And, what are the key takeaways from the source? Especially if you're a student sort of grappling with this math right now. What's the connection?
Well, what's really interesting is that the source basically frames calculating and maybe even optimizing packaging volume as a problem where this kind of college-level math fits right in.
Okay.
It doesn't hand us a specific formula like, here's the equation, but it talks about needing a suitable formulation.
A suitable formulation. What does that mean exactly? Like a
We-
model.
Yeah, essentially, a mathematical model, or maybe just an approach, a way to properly connect the calculus concepts you're learning to the very practical challenge of designing packaging.
Gotcha. So it's not just theory then. This math could be a tool for, real stuff.
Absolutely.
Because packaging volume, that seems important, right? It decides how much stuff fits inside. And it must affect material costs. How many boxes fit in a shipping crate, how they stack on the shelf at the store. Getting that volume right seems like a big deal.
It is a huge deal. And think about it calculating the volume of a simple rectangle, a basic box. Easy. High school geometry, pretty much.
Right. Length times width times height.
Exactly. But so much food packaging now has, curves or weird shapes. They're trying to stand out or maybe be easier to hold or pour from.
Yeah, true. Lots of complex shapes out there.
And that's where basic geometry kind of hits a wall and where calculus, specifically integration, becomes, well, necessary.
Ah, okay. Because integration, isn't that how you find the total amount of something when it's changing? Like the area under a curve or volume where the cross-section isn't constant?
Get it. Exactly. Imagine slicing that fancy curved juice carton into really, really thin slices, like paper thin.
Okay.
Each slice has a tiny little area. Integration is basically the mathematical tool that lets you add up the areas of all those infinitesimally thin slices.
Do you get the total volume of the whole complex 3D thing?
Precisely. The source suggests that finding this suitable formulation it mentions, it involves using integration to accurately calculate these tricky volumes.
Okay, that makes sense for finding the volume. But
Yeah.
didn't you say optimization?
Yeah.
Too? The source implies more than just calculation?
Good point. Yeah, the implication is definitely there, that this mathematical formulation, whatever it is, could also be used for optimization.
How so?
Well, think about design questions. How do you make a package that holds, say, exactly 500 milliliters, but uses the least possible amount of cardboard or plastic?
Minimizing material. Saves cost, less waste.
Right. Or maybe, how do you design shapes that fit together perfectly, like tiles, with no wasted space when you're shipping them?
Desolation, yeah. For efficiency.
These are real-world engineering and design problems.
Yeah.
And they could potentially be tackled using calculus principles. You'd use integration to figure out the volume, as we said.
And differentiation. That's for finding minimums and maximums, right? So maybe finding the minimum surface area for a given volume.
Exactly that. So the source is really highlighting this practical application. It raises the question for, designers, engineers in the food industry. If we apply these rigorous math methods, this formulation, how much better could we make things?
Better in terms of materials, cost, logistics,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. The source is basically saying, hey, here's an area within food science and packaging that's like ready for some serious mathematical application.
So, okay, wrapping this up. What does this mean for you listening? This deep dive really shows that the math you might be sweating over in college differentiation, integration, it's not just abstract theory stuck in a textbook. It has real, tangible uses. And this source points right at one, understanding and maybe even improving something as common as food packaging volume and design.
And it highlights that need for a suitable formulation, basically a mathematical bridge to connect the concepts to the practical problems. These fields aren't totally separate.
Yeah, definitely not separate islands. So maybe the next time you pick up, I don't know, a shaped drink bottle or a fancy carton, take a second look at the geometry.
Hmm.
Think about the curves, the angles, how much complex math might have gone into making that shape. Not just to look cool, but to hold the right amount, use materials well, pack efficiently.
It's kind of hidden math.
Totally. Understanding how integration calculates volume could impact efficiency, cost, maybe even environmental stuff in the huge world of packaging. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other surprising places is advanced math hiding in plain sight all around us?